everyone, my name is Mandilynn. I'm the author of the young adult novel Essence and historical fantasy novel I Am Mercy. Now, for the month of November, in celebration of National Novel Writing Month, we have been doing virtual readings of Essence. And I figured I would mix it up a bit and do a virtual reading of something a little bit different. So obviously you can see that I have my little Windows Surface with a little Snoopy typing away. But that means that this is something that is not yet in print. So while you guys have been working away writing your 50,000 word novel, I have been writing away just writing, not like shooting for 50,000 because that's a bit insane for me. And I'm also getting graded on this, so I need to actually, really write some quality stuff. Not to say that stuff written in NaNoWriMo isn't quality, but I'm a junior in college and I can't just spit out a 50,000 word novel. So instead, I'm going to be reading a little excerpt for you from this new little novel I'm working on that it kind of has a name, but I'm not going to tell you it in case I change it. And also so I can just have a cool little reveal later on. But let's see, I'll read you the first 3.5 pages. Sam thought it was a dream at first. Noise was piercing, the way it reverberated across the room. The fire alarm screamed her awake, bolting her out of bed. The room was black except for a small alarm clock on her headboard that read 4:09 a.m. The piercing sound told Sam to escape. She ran across the room, pulling her door open, only to have thick black smoke pile in. Coughing, she ran forward, her thin cotton pajamas suddenly feeling too thick in the sudden heat of the room. Sam wanted to run through the hallway and to the stairs that will lead her to the entrance of their house, but there was no such thing as running in this time of panic. Sam couldn't even hear over the blare of the fire alarm. She thought of Avery and wondered if she was awake or already outside. Maybe she was with her mom and Dan. Sam kneeled to the floor, pulling her t-shirt up to cover her mouth, but it did little to filter the smoke. She wanted to scream out to see if her family was still in the building, but any move to make a sound only left Sam struggling to breathe. There was stamping far in front of Sam, like someone was walking up the stairs. She closed her eyes as they watered from the smoke. Everything felt like it was on fire, but she didn't see the fire yet. There were no flames, just the heat and the suffocating smoke. Sam felt her body struggling as she laid herself on the floor. She couldn't lift herself. It became difficult to even cough. "She's here," a rough, muffled voice said. Or at least that's what Sam thought she heard. She was still on the floor when the firefighter found her. His jacket had a light that flickered, the only brightness in the smoke. He scooped her up, and even though he looked like a monster in his heavy equipment, in that moment he acted like an angel. The firefighter carried Sam down the stairs, the sound of his breathing through his respirator the only comforting sound inside the burning building. Yet as he carried her down the stairs, the air grew dense, the smoke grew thicker. The fire was just around the corner, and as the flames grew higher, they seemed to possess their own sound of screeching as they ate away at the home. The flames blazed a magnificent orange, the heat seeming unbearable. Sam was just steps from the door in the arms of her savior, yet for all this she knew nothing. By now she had no oxygen. By now she was just a rag doll in the fireman's arms. There were other voices in the house, all just as muffled as the man who carried Sam. The team of firefighters rushed to find anyone trapped inside the home and to put out the flames that quelled from the kitchen and took over the home. The flames reflected off the masks of the firefighters, and the men seemed to seamlessly blend into the chaos. "I've got her!" a man carrying Sam shouted as he stepped through the doorway and away from the fire. The air seemed to cool instantly, the oxygen seemed sweeter, and life felt richer the moment the flames were taken away. Sam was limp in his arms. Upon first look, she seemed unharmed. There was only a thin coating of ash on her skin and pajamas, but the EMTs rushed around her, pulling her onto a stretcher and holding a respirator over her mouth. Bodies crowded around the young girl as they checked her vitals as she was laid out on the stretcher. The team talked in rushed voices, operating as one entity to bring life back to Sam. She was brought to the ambulance as another firefighter ran out of the house with another girl in his arms. Avery was still coughing when she broke through the barrier of smoke. The moment the oxygen-rich air was presented to her, it seemed almost impossible for her to catch her breath. Her eyes watered as the firefighter carried her to the ambulance and she was placed on the stretcher. She refused to lay down for fear that she would suffocate if she wasn't careful. EMTs rushed her aside, taking vitals, giving her a respirator. Eventually, she stopped coughing, yet the tears still streamed down her face. Her vision cleared enough to see her sister laying in the stretcher across from her with no sign of life. "Sammy!" Avery screamed, but her voice didn't have the power. Instead, her words sounded like a scratching against her throat. "It's all right. She's going to be fine." A woman stepped in front of Avery's vision so she couldn't see her. Avery sat holding the respirator to her mouth, her breathing fogging the plastic cover over her nose and mouth. Avery looked in the dead night, her house a candle in the dark. The lights from the fire trucks and ambulance flashed across the neighborhood as people seemed to slip out of their houses to see what all the commotion was for. Strange faces watched from the border of the scene in fear as their neighbor's house burned to the ground. The oxygen in Avery's mask felt cool against the heat of the air, the only sense of solace in the dark night. Faces blurred around her as EMTs rushed about. Avery watched as her home was doused in gallons of water. "There we go." Amongst the chaos, those were the words Avery heard. Just a whisper. They came from the EMT standing over Sam. A violent coughing came from Sam. And when Avery looked over, she could see her body moving again. The team of EMTs were blocking her vision, making it impossible to see her sister from the waist up, but she was there. As the water was poured over their home, Sam's cough was a comfort. And then Avery was being rolled away. Her stretcher was pulled farther away, and then the doors to the ambulance that Sam was in was shut. "Wait," Avery said in a voice that seemed softer than a whisper. Through the chaos of the night, Avery could hear the click of the doors as the ambulance was shut away. "Wait!" This time Avery could hear her voice. The man pulling her stretcher away stood up. "It's going to be okay. We're going to get you to the hospital," he said. His voice was calm. Avery could feel tears in her eyes, but she wasn't sure if it was because of the smoke or because her sister was out of sight and her parents were nowhere to be seen. "Sam's in that ambulance. Let me get in that ambulance." There was a team surrounding Avery as they pulled her into the ambulance. The man Avery had just spoken to was no longer listening. He was talking to other EMTs in code words that she didn't understand. The men and women poked and pulled at her, spoke to her in words that she didn't understand. "Where's my dad? Where's my dad? Where's Cheryl?" Her eyes kept going to the man that had spoken to her. He worked on putting ointment on a burn that was on her leg. She hadn't even felt it. It seemed her whole body was on fire. "The firemen are working on rescuing everyone who was in the fire." The man rubbed a cold ointment into her skin. Avery watched her red blazing leg, how it shined when he put on the ointment. "It was just us in the house. Me, Sam, her dad, and my mom." Avery watched the other EMTs float in and out of her vision. She was in the ambulance now, still on the stretcher. The doors were open, leaving room for anyone else the firemen might find. They need to find someone else. They need to find her parents. Avery watched outside the door as far away the firemen worked. They seemed to pour gallons upon gallons of water into her home. The flames didn't want to die. And then there was another stretcher. Without even realizing it, Avery's dad was pulled in, and the moment she saw him, she wished the doors to the ambulance had closed. So that's that. So this manuscript that I just read off of hasn't really been edited yet, so there are some interesting sentences that I had to correct as I went, and I probably missed a few corrections. But, yeah. I hope you guys like that. I really right now I really want to tell you guys what the title of it is, but I'm gonna stay away from that. Anyways, I really hope you guys are excited for this upcoming manuscript because it is gonna be novel number 3 as long as things work out. And if you are excited, show your support, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and comment down below. Thank you for watching.